Hey, and welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing, or should I say, It's a Euro Thing. What an action-packed match day it was of match day 3. Some of the best games of the tournament, if you ask me. I'm joined tonight by Robbie, our European football correspondent.
How are we all?
And very good, my friend. And we've got RJ joining us. Couple of little technical glitches, but RJ will be good soon enough, we're sure. Evening, RJ.
That'll take more than that to stop me, fellas. Don't worry, I'm here.
Absolutely. You're channeling your friend, Mr. Kante. Can he or can't he?
Absolutely. Pumped.
Boys, match day 3 has been and gone. The group stage has wrapped up, and we are now facing a mouth-watering round of 16. I cannot hide my excitement. I had to take a couple of days off. I was a little bit busted. I needed a bit of rest, but I'm recharged and ready for the round 16. Robbie, how you feeling, man?
Yeah, mate. Exact same. Especially after this morning, mate. I don't know if it was the group of death or the group of drama, but I tell you, kept us on our seats this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Arj, you enjoying it, my man?
I'll tell you what, I thought the Euro couldn't get more exciting as we come to a bit of that group there, the knockout phase. I'm pumped, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to start really quickly by recapping match day 3. We don't want to spend too much time on this because the main focus of tonight is looking ahead to the round of 16. For those joining us on YouTube, this is our first live, so we'll probably get a couple of little hiccups here and there, but thank you for joining us. For those joining us via pod, we hope you enjoy having a listen as well. We're grateful. Please subscribe, please like, please hit the notification bell. Group A, your favorite group, boys, because it has your favorite team in this comp, Italy. Finished pretty much as we expected, no?
Flawless, mate.
Group, boys, because it has your favorite team in this comp, Italy. And what did you think of that, Robbie?
Yeah, mate, like I said, flawless. Three wins from 3. We've got a nice goal difference there. Didn't concede a goal at all. And we look good, man. Like I said, as a lot of people are saying, we haven't been tested from a powerhouse yet, but we can only play who's in front of us. So we've done what we can at the moment, and on we go.
Absolutely. Arj, you'd be happy with how Italy have gone, my man?
Yeah, happy is an understatement, I think. 3 games, 3 wins, 7 goals for, none conceded. But I think it's fair to say that while most people have now jumped on board the Azzurri train, I was pretty confident heading into this that we're a team to be respected. And I think the achievements under Mancini shouldn't go underappreciated, particularly given that we have now equaled a record of 30 games unbeaten. We have kept 11 consecutive clean sheets, and we've scored 32 goals in the process. So I think now is the time that we start getting a little bit more of that credibility amongst the wider footballing community. But still, long way to go, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was pretty pleased with Wales as well. Nice to see them perform quite well. Robbie, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. Like I said, another one that kind of like I wasn't too sure how it was all going to go, but yeah, like I said, the 2 superstars mainly, like in Gareth Bale and Ramsey, stood up, and obviously they got a few other people in the team that can help out, and I'm glad that they're in the next round, mate, because just like 2016, they made it to a quarterfinal, so it'll be interesting to see how far they can get this year.
Beautiful. Like I said, we want to power through this review because we're all waiting to go through the knockout matches. Group B, Belgium topping the group convincingly. They didn't put a foot wrong. They're looking really dangerous. I feel like we keep saying this might be their competition, but I really feel like this might be their competition. And Denmark, Finland, they gave good account to themselves as well. Unfortunately for Finland not going through, but the Danes will be happy to get through. RJ, any thoughts on that group, my man?
Yeah, well, as you would recall, and a few of our listeners, when we speak a bit offline, I was very happy to admit that I was wrong about Finland in the sense that I thought they were merely just just going to turn up and just make up the numbers, but they gave a good account of themselves and they were quite unlucky in some respects. Concierge of crime, what a legend. Jorginho, the regista, the Italian stallion, what a legend. But with Denmark, I thought the way that they responded to get over that traumatic event with Christian Eriksen, which we're all still got our thoughts and prayers for with his speedy recovery, I was super impressed with the way they turned up against Russia, who for me were pretty disappointing. And I don't want to give away too much with our question of the week, but what a goal from Andreas Christensen. He never scores. I hope he brings some of that back to the Mighty Blues. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that they've responded. So good on the Danes.
Absolutely. Look, let's just move straight on because that one was pretty clear cut. Group C, Netherlands topped the group, and they were a bit of a surprise packet for me. I thought they played some nice offensive football. Austria in second place. I think they'll definitely be a challenge in the next round. And Ukraine finishing on top of North Macedonia. Robbie, your thoughts on this group?
Yeah, man, I think the surprise one there is Austria, considering that, they're always in tournaments, but until this tournament, they've actually never won a game, let alone make it through to a knockout stage. So that's massive for them. So congratulations to them. And we'll see how we're playing them next, so we'll talk about that in the predictions.
Absolutely. RJ, any quick thoughts before we move to the next group, my man?
No, just probably a quick shout out to Goran Pandev from North Macedonia. He was a bit of a legend of the game, and I felt like he got celebrated in the right fashion and thought that, you know what, it's hard to see players these days lasting 2 decades at the top level. He's no Ronaldo, he's no Messi, but he had quite a distinguished career, and I'm glad that he got an appropriate send-off. So well done, Pandev.
For those who watch this on YouTube, my favorite feature of going live is that when I put these comments up, covers half of RJ's mug. So you're doing community service. Dan Hill, absolute champion. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate your support. Boys, let's keep powering through. Group D, England topping the group, but Croatia and the Czech Republic getting through. Unfortunately for Scotland, couldn't do what they needed to do at the end, but Croatia and Czech Republic won't be too disappointed with that. I might just mention my quick thoughts on this. I expected England to top this group. They did so. I would say they weren't too uncomfortable. They weren't too tested. And my goodness, when we preview it, what a run-in they've got. But let's not jump too far in. Was stoked to see my man Saka start and boss it. He had a brilliant game. He did what he had to do. And there was a lot of calls to guys like Sancho to play. Guys with a bigger profile than Saka, but I thought he gave a really good account of himself. So I'm very happy Gooner here. Robbie.
Yeah, for me, Robbie, you go first, mate.
Yeah, no, I think you summed it up pretty good, mate. I think for all the Scots out there, they'll be waiting at Christmas time for their DVD of that 0-0 win against England. But like I said, besides that, I think you wrapped it up pretty well.
Well, thank you, Arch.
Yeah, you know what? I felt like Scotland here, they got 1 point in the end of it, but I don't think it really did them much justice because I felt they played with a lot of spirit. They had a lot of tenacity, but unfortunately, a lot like these, smaller countries relative to some of the bigger favourites, they just really lack that firepower up front. And I think that despite the low points return, their supporters can be proud of the effort they showed. And I felt that had the Scottish Iniesta, Billy Gilmore, not been out for the last game, they might have had a better shout for that comp. But look, overall, it's probably a fair reflection of where we thought things were going to go. And I suppose now I'm a little bit intrigued to see just how both of the top two in this group fare, given they've got some pretty difficult draws coming up.
Absolutely. Let's move on as we edge ever so much closer to the knockout fixtures. Group E, Sweden topping that group, Spain finishing in second place. Poland at the bottom of the group was not something I expected, but that they were quite underwhelming, weren't they?
Mate, I told you that in the preview, mate. I was right. So I predicted one thing good.
You did, yeah. Well, let's talk about your Turkey prediction, mate.
I already coughed up.
Turkey semi-finalists, Robbie.
I coughed
up. Hey, no need to be a bit nice, Scott. No need to be a turkey, mate. He copped the L. That's it.
That's it. He did cop that L indeed. RJ, what did you think about Sweden and Spain?
Well, I suppose my initial reactions are that I didn't predict Sweden to go as good as they had gone, so full credit to them, especially without Ibra, who's obviously a prolific striker for them. But Spain, despite their 5-0 win, in my opinion, that kind of acts as a bit of an outlier in terms of how they've been performing overall, because they've been quite underwhelming, to put it lightly. I actually thought that the game between Sweden and Poland was absolutely low-key, very high quality, lots of action, top quality goals, and a dramatic finish to boot. So, yeah, a little bit harsh on Poland, but yeah, Spain, they've gotten through now. I'm a bit concerned that they're building a bit of momentum, but not fully convinced.
Robbie, do you have anything you wanted to add, my man?
No, just I reckon, like I said, a bit Sweden for me is a little bit of a smoky, because their first 2 games they were missing one of their main players. He was back because he tested positive for COVID. His name's Dejan Kulusevski. He plays for Juve, a real young player, really creative. He was his first game today. Man, he got 2 assists straight away. He's a really talented player, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes further on from here.
Yeah, absolutely, boys, as we continue to soldier on. Group F. The group of death, the group of fun, the group of, oh my God, what is going on? That's how I spent the morning as it bounced from Hungary to Portugal to Germany to Hungary. I could not keep up, and it took me about 15 minutes once I got to work to kind of get myself ready and recover from what had happened. Holy moly, what a group. Robbie, you go first, my man.
Well, boys, this morning we were all in our group chat together, and pretty much every time there was another goal, like, oh, the ladder's changed again. This person's out at the moment. This person's going through. It was just entertaining, man. Like many people have said today, like sometimes you see these blockbuster games, and they end up being a 0-0 or the underwhelming games. But mate, this was just all fireworks today, and it was really good to watch.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. To be honest, if football ever needed some promotion for international sport, they would just show them these couple hours this morning, because it was end to end. I actually put out a tweet among the many tweets we often do, and it was, I don't know what's more exciting, the games themselves or watching the live ladder movements, because it was just so topsy-turvy. And you know what? I think we need to pay a little bit of respect and credit to Hungary, because they made a real fist of that. And at one point, or more than one point, but there are a couple points there where they could have easily been making their way to the round of 16, when everybody, or most people in the football world, would have given them a -% chance of getting through. So yeah, full credit to Hungary, but group of fun, group of fantastic football, and yeah, so great way to end the group stages.
I reckon Hungary was one of the most exciting teams in this group. I know they obviously didn't qualify, but every single game, they were more than enough in it. They pushed the big boys all the way to the real underdog story, man. I was really hoping they were going to get to the next.
You can't argue, Rob, that they weren't hungry enough.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
I had to do it.
And you know what, boys? Obviously, I get that wrong every time we're on here.
I know. I keep doing it too. I like point to the wrong second.
Shocking. But obviously, I'm backing the French boys to take this one home. I did tell you guys when we did our very first show, they always struggle in the groups, and you don't see the best of France till later in the tournament. Tom's comment, Tom, who is an absolute legend on the United podcast. If you haven't listened to those guys, listen to them, but after this. Tom says, has to be the lowest points total to top a group. Tell you what, I don't think he'd be wrong, because this group was really tight. There was some brilliant football, some brilliant names. But overall, I'm really happy that France were able to top it. It was a bit nerve-wracking at times. I don't think we've seen anywhere near the best of Mbappe so far. But hopefully now he's kind of going to build a bit of momentum and show his best as this progresses.
But I think, Scott, I know last match, and I know how fond you are of the Chelsea legend Olivier Giroud. How do you feel now about Karim Benzema warming up now? Are you feeling a bit more confident now that this isn't such a bad disharmony to the squad, or are you still on the fence with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Watching a lot of this team, I still stand by the fact that Giroud really does bring out the best in guys like Griezmann and Mbappe, because that's his strength. His strength is in the link-up play and the way he holds the ball up, plays the nice little touches left, right. But look, credit where it's due. I was pretty critical of Karim Benzema in the last pod and the last show, but he did perform this morning. He took his goals well. He was making some really positive runs. So you can't argue. And I think Deschamps will continue starting him, to be honest. But it's nice to know that Giroud is there if they need him.
Yeah, fair call. I also noticed that with Kante, he actually, I believe, set a record for the most games like undefeated consecutive in a row or something to that
With
effect.
Pogba.
So
With
yeah,
Pogba.
exactly. Well, I never heard of Pogba. I've heard of the Champions League winner Kante, but not Pogba.
So you mean he's the World Cup winner?
So is Kante. So.
Well, and thank you to all the guys who have joined us in the live chat.
Yes.
Tell you what, if there was ever a live chat that's got some football brains in there, this is it. Good comment from Param. I hope I've said that right, my friend. Benzema, very good in those attributes, but the cohesion just isn't there yet. Going to be scary at the World Cup. Absolutely agree. You can't argue with that. Once that cohesion builds, I think France will only go from strength to strength, and that's something everyone should have a little bit of fear about, I think. Boys, any final comments on match day 3 before we move into the knockout fixtures?
I reckon bring those fixtures up, mate.
I know. But just a quick shout out. We talk about how good the goals are, but how good was Rui Patricio's double save this morning? Wow.
100%. Yeah. But all of it together, the shot, even like the lead up to the shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Save, the double, like you said, the double save, man. Like to get up and to save the bullet again coming from Griezmann. Class. World class.
And Rob will tell you, as a former world-class goalkeeper myself, I really appreciated it. So, no, I really enjoy seeing these saves as well. I think because football is a complete package. It's not just about the goals. It's about the build-up, like you said, the saves, the passing, the shots. So, yeah, just a good shout-out to Rui.
It wasn't like that the Bravka one this morning when he literally volleyballed into his own net.
Yes, not so good goalkeeping.
RJ was far more Dubravka than he was Rui in his playing days. But let's move on to all the people in the live chat. As we put these fixtures up and we talk our nonsense about them, feel free to throw in any score predictions or comments. We'll try and put as many as we can. The first one we're going to look at, boys, Wales versus Denmark. Probably not one of the most explosive fixtures in this knockout round, but I still think we'll see some really quality football here. Robbie, we might start with you.
Yeah, man. Well, there's one thing I said as soon as I've seen all of them in general. I think all of them are really tightly and evenly matched in all aspects. This one here, I think, is again really even. I think you're going to have a really pacey Wales side with your Dan James, Gareth Bale that's going to be trying to get in behind, and then Denmark, mate. As I'm calling them for this tournament, rising from like a phoenix out of the ashes, mate. They were bottom of the group, got in on the last day, and mate, I know Eriksen's not there, but I think they've just got the whole footballing community behind them. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform.
Yeah, not much to disagree with there, Rob. I think Denmark will probably be the people's second favourite, given what's transpired, and that might give them the extra edge. But at the same time, I think Wales have played some decent football along the way. Yeah, they're not the top tier sort of nation, but sometimes having your backs against a wall can be a bit of an advantage. So I think this will be quite tight in the end. It's quite difficult to see how this one's going to turn out. But do we want to give us prediction, or we're going to say to the end?
Let's do some predictions here. Arj, you do yours, then we'll go to Robbie, and I'll have my say.
Yeah. So whatever you say, the opposite. No, just kidding. But no, I think despite the underdog status and Gareth Bale and Ramsey, I know he's been playing pretty decent, scored a cracking goal in the group stage, played for a rubbish club once, but anyhow, the Danes with Christensen behind them, I think they've got some positive momentum, and I think they're going to take this one out 2-1.
Robbie, you forgot to give us a prediction, man.
Yeah, you know, I might go 2-1, but it might be an extra time winner from Denmark. I'll go 2-1.
Boys, I'm also going with 2-1, but I think as much as, like you said, that the story of Denmark progressing would be amazing, and I would love to see them progress, I think Bale, Ramsey, those two men and their experience is going to be enough to take the Welsh boys through. I actually think we're going to get Wales 2-1. That's my prediction on that one.
Fair call.
So, but I think it'll be tight.
Yeah,
let's move on to the one that you two are probably most excited for. I think it's going to be an absolute snorefest. Italy, Austria. Do you want to kick that one off, Mr. RJ?
Sorry, I'm just kissing the badge. But you say snorefest, I say absolute blockbuster. First of all, you've got a team that's in blue hot form, I should say, in Zuri. But then you've got another underdog story here. And from a neutral's perspective, let's give, hey, Aaron, what a legend. Great designer and animation drawer, picture drawer, by the way. Check him out. He's on the rise. He does some great work. So big shout out to you, Aaron.
And getting recognised by Chelsea as well. Good on you, Aaron.
That's right. He's only one step away from joining their team, I believe. So fingers crossed he continues to kick goals, so to speak. Now, Austria, I think I was saying from a neutral's point of view, they've surprised a few people. And I don't think they're necessarily going to be a pushover here. And I think if Italy or anybody thinks that it's just going to be a walk in the park, they're going to be unpleasantly surprised if you're an Italian supporter. I do think we're going to get the job done just because of the cost, like the confidence we have fostered and the strong culture that we've built under Mancini. And I like the fact that we've rested a few key players. Actually, we rotated 8 of our starting 11, as Rob will tell you. But I think I have trust in the broader squad. And I like the fact that Mancini's given everybody a turn, even the goalkeeper swapping at the end. So in the end, a tight game's expected, but I do think we're going to get the job done. And I reckon it'll be 2-0.
Yeah, took the words out of my mouth. I'm predicting also a 2-0. And I'm just hoping that Italy don't go in there with the big heads like, oh, who is this little Austria team? We're going to run all over them. But you know what? Under Mancini, like you said, we haven't had that mentality. In our old friendlies or when we come against the smaller nations, Italy would always struggle, a 1-1 draw or a small score. But with Mancini, he's the type of person, he wants goals, goals, goals. If it's 3-0, he wants 4-0. So I don't think it will be a walk in the park. But I do think on paper we have more quality, especially in the midfield. Especially like, you got your Jorginho, you got your Barella. Obviously, Mancini's got a choice.
Verratti's back.
Verratti, that's a big question mark, but a good question mark for him to have. And yeah, I do see us progressing from this group. And I'm going to, same as you, mate, I'm going to go with a 2-0.
Yeah, I think Italy are absolutely going to cruise through this one. I haven't been overly impressed with Austria when I've watched them, and I have been overly impressed with the Italians. I find it really refreshing to see Italy breaking down that stereotype of the defensive, boring football. As much as it pains me to say it, I think you've been one of, if not the best offensive team in the tournament so far. So kudos to Mancini. I think you walk this one 3-0, to be completely blunt. And shout out to Mr. Jorginho himself, concierge of crime. If anyone... Mate, there is no one that reps Jorginho more than him. You would think that Jorginho is Granit Xhaka, the way he talks him up. But let's move on quickly before I get hounded. Netherlands, Czech Republic. I actually think this one's going to be a complete blockbuster, boys. I think both these teams are going to be really stoked to be in this stage of the comp. And I think they're going to turn it on offensively. I can see a high-scoring one here. But I think with, guys like Memphis to buy, Netherlands
Ronaldo's been on form.
He's in red-hot form. Fancy. He leaves Liverpool, agrees to join Barca, and look at that. The offense. Yeah, on a free. What business? I think Netherlands 3-2. I'm hoping I'm right too, so we see goals. What do you think, RJ?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there in terms of it'll be quite an open game. I think both are going to go. There's nothing to lose here. Netherlands have really come out firing and surprised many, given the fact that they've got some good talent on paper, quite young in a lot of areas, but some established players that have fallen off the wayside, but have sort of worked their way back into the fold. But I think also the Czech Republic, they're a team that's sort of just they're good, but they're not a team that's sort of recognized as being, like, again, that top tier. And I think, though, they've played some really decent football at times in their group, which was quite competitive, don't forget, with England and Croatia giving them a fair run for their money. but they've got some decent attack men. And I think with the guys like obviously Schick first and foremost, and the form he's brought in, you can't rule them out. So you say 3-2 Netherlands. I think that this is, I can see a similar scoreline, but I actually think this might even go into extra time. So I could see a 2-2 after extra time or 2-2 at full time. And then again, I agree with you, Scott. I think Netherlands will probably pip them over to the end.
How much does it hurt you to have to agree with me live?
As much as it hurts you to admit how good the Azuri are, baby.
Never heard of him. Robbie, your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, another close game. Could go either way. I am leaning towards Netherlands. I think there might be a little bit more quality. I think there might be a bit of a challenge for them because the Czechs are got a lot of height in their team. So I can see maybe a lot of long balls coming through and challenging them because they still haven't looked really good defensively for me. Holland, like they're scoring goals, but they haven't been tested. So it'll be really interesting to see how they go up against, like you said, a Sheik. He's got a lot of height. Maybe set pieces and stuff could hurt him, but I'm going to still go with a 3-1 to Netherlands.
Excellent. Boys, this one, absolute cracker. And I'm going to leave this banner at the bottom of the page until some of our football absolute geniuses in the live chat give us their predictions as well, because I have no idea how this is going to go, and I want to see some of their opinions too. So please feel free to throw us your score prediction in the live chat. I'd love to compare it to ours.
It's
Robbie,
an easy one, Scott.
You reckon?
An easy one, mate. Easy.
How about Ardo goes first? Because I still don't know. I'm still trying to toss up in this.
There's nothing to contemplate. Unless the ref gives away 20 penalties, Belgium's got this in the bag. You know, I know Ronaldo's got the 2 goals and he's equaled the world record and he's a true professional and one of the very best to ever played a game. But in all seriousness, I thought the way that Portugal, they did respond well against France, so let's not get it twisted. But at the same time, I still think that, you know, pound for pound, I don't know, I've got a lot more confidence in what Belgium's producing at the moment, whereas Portugal, they're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. So if they bring on the Jekyll, then I look a little bit silly, but I don't know, I've got a good feeling about Belgium at the moment. So yeah, we'll have to see. I still think they'll get the job done.
Well, boys, in our first show we did in this Euro series, I did call as my man who was going to be the player of the tournament, Cristiano Ronaldo. And I said at the time, I acknowledge, obviously no brave call. I'm not saying that I'm a football oracle. But he's really hitting the goals. And sometimes, yet, I understand he's been quiet for the start of some games. But when his country need him, he steps up. And a team with the Portuguese Jonjo Shelvey, Mr. Bruno Fernandes, are always going to attract penalties. So we know that's going to happen. I don't know what the result's going to be. I think I'm going to stick with my call about Ronaldo being the player of the tournament. I think Portugal will get through in extra time 2-1. Arte, did you give a score prediction? I can't remember if you did. What's your prediction, my man?
Yeah, I think this one will be actually 2-1 to Belgium, to be honest. So I can definitely, good point from Tom here. I know what you're saying about making his tournament, especially probably it's his swan song. But I don't know. I just think the team that they're coming up against, especially if De Bruyne are now starting to warm up quite nicely, and Lukaku's obviously playing very strongly. And the defense, even though I haven't got total trust in Alderweireld and that at the back, they have a decent goalkeeper. Let's not mention his name, of course, but they're a decent team overall. And I just think pound for pound, even though Portugal's got some strong attacking players, and Ruben Diaz, I like this one. That's why. 100%. Who needs a scoreline? But if I have to give it against
that out for people listening on the
podcast, Fernandes won't get penalties, so he'll be ghosting. So easy Belgium win.
He won't play, man. I'm telling you, he'll be coming off the bench. So I don't think it'll be that easy. Trust me.
I agree. What about you, Robbie? Your thoughts?
Look, man, again, this is literally a toss of the coin, this one. And if I was to go in my heart, I want to see Belgium advance out of this. I'd prefer to play, like, if we were to make through, I'd prefer to play them in the next round. But my heart says Belgium, but I really think Portugal might edge this one. And then I think a big reason for that, this game has been playing in Spain. And just for the whole climatization of it, you know, Portugal, a lot of players there. It's really close to the border, so I think the heat could maybe take could come into account in this game. So I think that's my only thing that's going to separate the team. I think Portugal might be a little bit more climatized in the Spanish sun. It could be a hot 35 degrees this game. So yeah, that's the only reason. So my heart says Belgium and my head's saying Portugal in this one.
Absolutely. And Dan Hills put in the live chat, Belgium 3, Portugal 3. Portugal to win on penalties after extra time. 3 red cards and utter madness of a game. Well, we cannot say that Dan is not specific. And we have a super special guest in the live chat. The GOAT, one of my favorite people, Mama RJ. RJ's mum's joining us in the chat too. We love
Proud
you.
Azuri fan.
She makes a mean pasta and a good schnitzel too. Boys, let's move on to another game that I didn't think would be exciting when I first saw it, but after one of these teams turned it up a little bit this morning, we might be in for a better show. Croatia versus Spain. Now, I might start with my thoughts on this. I've been a little bit underwhelmed with Croatia this tournament, but in saying that, I wasn't expecting huge things from them. I feel like they're about to hit a real serious transition in their squad where there's a lot of aging players and they're having to bring in the new crop. I think they're really suffering from not having that striker up front who you can bet on taking their chance. But they've got a really experienced midfield. They've got a guy like Modric who is just an absolute icon and legend. So I think this is going to be tight. But then you see Spain turn on 5 goals this morning. And you kind of wonder. I do think Spain will have too much for Croatia in this. I can see it actually being 3-1 to Spain with a Morata goal. Wow. So that's probably the biggest call. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I hope Croatia do Spain in this one straight up like that. I don't want to see. I'm not impressed with Spain at all this point. I know they had the 5-0 against Slovakia this morning, but again, they needed a bit of luck from they needed that Dubravka own goal to kind of ease off the pressure, and then the goal started flowing in. But over the 3 match days, they do. It's like they just can't finish at all. They do all their passing backwards, sideways. I know Busquets was a big plus for them today after his comeback from COVID as well. I think this is going to be a bit of a midfield battle. You're going to have your Kovacic, you're going to have your Modric, and then they've got Busquets and Rodri. So I don't know why I'm thinking Croatia's going to get this over the line. It could even be a boring 0-0 and extra time, maybe penalties, but I'm just going to go Croatia to advance. I'll go 1-0 Croatia.
Interesting. RJ?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see this is where the experience starts becoming really important now. Like, I was watching after the games this morning. They had the debrief session on Optus, and I was listening to John Aloisi, former Socceroo at the time, and they're talking about how Spain dismantled Slovakia, and they're talking about their little triangles and quads and how they're able to effectively shift one part of the field and move everyone to the other side, and by creating these overlaps and using the width of the pitch to really dismantle teams, and they were able to find the right ball. But like Rob said, I think had they not gotten that little bit of a reliever from Dubravka, I just think the game might not have opened up as freely as what it did in the end. Whereas I think, though, Croatia, like again, I come back to this experience, the Croatian sensation, Mateo Kovacic, I just think he's due for a big one. I think he's warming up nicely. Luka Modric again with that worldie of a goal. Then you've got other players, the lesser ones, but Perisic, Kramaric. I just think these players collectively, I think what we're going to see is a very resolute Croatia. They're going to use that experience, and I wouldn't be surprised if they hit them on the break with one move and just shut up shop and use that experience to seal off an unlikely victory. But definitely not a David and Goliath, but I'm going with the Croatians 1-0 as well.
Interesting. Let's move on. This one I'm feeling quietly confident about. In saying that, sometimes France remind me a little bit of Arsenal in the sense that they can make what should be very simple very difficult. I don't rate Switzerland too heavily. I think France have plenty of attack and should be able to overwhelm them. I think guys like Xhaka won't be able to keep up with the pace of the French attack. And with Benzema getting that little bit of confidence and hitting his goals this morning, I think France should do this relatively comfortably. So I'm going to go with 3-1 to France. We've got our mate, Concierge of Crime, taking the mick. He's called Switzerland nil. I bet if Jorginho played for France, he'd probably be calling it the other way.
Put someone there that on, mate. I'll be sure it's big odds on that.
Yeah, that'd be paying quite nicely. RJ, what do you think about this one? Do you think it's clear cut, or are you thinking there might be an upset?
No, I don't think it's clear cut. I don't think 6-0 is probably going to happen. Sorry to be a spoiler alert, but it would be quite nice to see. You know what though? I think with Switzerland, they're actually they play a decent brand of football. They're not just a bludger of a team in the sense of they just sit back and play super pragmatic. They like to enjoy a bit of the ball, and I think what will be interesting though is to see whether or not France invites that and gives them that false sense of security and hits them on the break with that speed that we know they possess in Mbappe and Griezmann. But look, I think this is going to be quite an entertaining clash, and it'll be interesting in the sense of if France do play that dangerous approach to invite that pressure and Switzerland take advantage and, they actually take a lead, what will be interesting to see if France are able then to break down, because in the group stages, they haven't been that fluid in attack. I know they won 1-0 against Germany, own goal. They scraped the 1-1 against Hungary, even though they dominated the ball, but they were very inefficient in front of goal. And it took a Benzema penalty, which was debatable, and then he actually scored one good goal. So in 3 games, they didn't really score as much as what you'd think this World Cup winning, high-flying squad is capable of.
You know it's there.
But as you know,
waiting for it to strike, and when it strikes, it strikes.
But as you know, the game isn't played on paper, and unfortunately, until that strike happens, it's just a matter of if, not when. So, will they happen? If they do, if they tick, we know that they can blow anyone away. But I just think that Switzerland aren't a team that you can just muck around with. So, in the end, I'm still going to go with a France win, and I think it'll be. I think they'll take it eventually 2-1.
2-1. Interesting. Robbie?
Yeah, 4-1 France.
Wow, I like that.
No, I'm serious. I really think this is the game. You know what I'd like?
I don't like that.
No, I don't like it. But I'd like to see, not dropped, that sounds bad. I'd like to see Benzema taken out of the team, just to see, go back to kind of how their World Cup squad setup kind of thing is, just to see if, like you said, if it does let the shackles off Mbappe. Because if that happens, I think that he's really gonna smack them on the break, man. Exactly what you said. I can see him sitting a bit deep, keeping the clean sheet. They might. I said no, not a clean sheet. I said 4-1, but I can see maybe them just attack, bang. I can see Mbappe sitting on the halfway line waiting for a ball and just smashing them on the break. So I'm gonna go for a big one. I'm gonna draft him into my fantasy team, Mbappe.
No Shaqiri hat trick.
No. I really think this is gonna be, like I said, one of those ones where it ticks. Everyone's been waiting for Mbappe to explode. So I think this is the game between him, Pogba, Kante. I think they're all going to link up and it's going to be a belt in this one.
Man, Mbappe has frustrated me in this tournament. I love him. There's a reason my fantasy team's named the Mbappening. But he's just he's making the right runs. He's looking dangerous. He's taking guys on. But it's just that last decision or that touch when he's running onto the ball, which, he's got it. He's absolute world class, but it just doesn't seem to be happening. I think he really just needs to hit that first goal in this tournament, and then the shackles are off. He'll go. But
nonsense, mate. Nonsense, Scott. He's a poor man's habits, mate.
Yeah. A few times when he's played down the middle, for France, he's really, really good down the middle as well.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'd like to see Benzema out of the team just for that reason. Yeah, he can come off the bench, but just to see if it does change back to how it was beforehand.
Yeah, interesting. Look, I have a feeling our live chat might have a few thoughts on this one. This is huge. An old rivalry. Some really big players on both sides. We know it's not played on paper. But England, Germany, my oh my, boys, am I excited for this one? I'm guessing you are too.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Should be good.
Who's going to unpack this one first? Not me.
I'm happy. I'll take the bullet, boys. Look, as I've said the last all the match days, England haven't been what I expected. I really thought that they were gonna blow off a few more of the teams in that group. I expected them to get a 9 out of 9. I know they've got the 7, but no one's been impressed with England. I think that Southgate has to be brave in this game. If he's brave, I really think. No, but look, number one, I would be playing the Sancho and the Bellingham. 2 players that play in the Bundesliga against Germany. I would play them straight away in this game. I just think that if he's brave and he wants to go forward and attack, I really think England. I'm going to go England in this game. I really think they're going to get the job done at home at Wembley, and I really think knowing now that their route to the final, this is probably their biggest hurdle. If they can get over Germany, I think they could get to the final because it's an easier run on the easier side of the draw. But I'm going to go with a 2-1 or 2. You know what? I'm going to go 2-0 to England.
Man, I think you've raised a pivotal point though. Like, he needs to be brave, and Southgate, in all his time, has not shown me that he can be brave.
Yeah, look,
I don't think
RJ's mum's onto it.
Well, if RJ's mum says England win. Let's just move to the next. No, but in all seriousness, I don't see him having that in his locker. I don't think he is a brave manager. And I think part of England's problem is that their media absolutely tear them up. Like, there's articles that are tearing Saka up for buying a new house. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like they're out to get their players. So I can understand why Southgate's nervous and why he plays such a tactically defensive game, because if they lose, they're done. But I agree with you, Rob. They need to attack because the Germans are not going to sit back.
Not just that, Borgie, but I think, like I said, Harry Maguire, he came in last week, and for someone who's been injured, hasn't played for 6 weeks, look, it's not just me being biased. He's their leader at the back. And look, everyone said, I know they haven't been great attacking, but defensively, they haven't considered the goal this tournament either. And that's one thing. He might be thinking like how France have been in previous World Cups. Let's lock it up at the back and let's, defense wins titles. You know what I mean? So
they're the Italy.
Honestly, man, and Italy have won 4 World Cups, by the way. So if I think like they're defensively sound, and if they can finally get a Harry Kane or a Sancho or a Saka or someone on the break, I can see them getting this over the line.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And Tom from the United Pubcast has commented saying, football simple. 22 men chase the ball around for 90 minutes, and at the end, the Germans win. So Tom's backing the Germans. We've also got another person backing the Germans. Concierge of Crime. If Germany turn up, they will pump England.
Wow,
I have a masterclass with Southgate wearing a waistcoat. And we've also got more love for the Germans. It's a German.
Let them have it.
Germany from Dan Hill. Kai Havertz, it's not coming home. 2-1 to the Germans. Look, I am going to side with you, Rob. Did you call an England win?
Yep. 2-0 I'm going to go with.
I just think they'll be able to sit back and frustrate the Germans. And I think similar to Mbappe, Harry Kane's got to score at some point. Like he always does. You know it's coming. So I actually think the English are going to take this 1-0. They'll be able to keep the Germans quiet. RJ, let's just get all the Havertz talk out of the way, the Rudiger talk. Go on, mate. Have your moment.
It's hard not to talk, but let's keep it real here. We got Champions League winners on both sides of the fence, so it's just a matter of letting them play. This COVID business really gets in the way of things. But look, on face value, I think I'd probably be, if I'm Germany, I'd probably feel slightly more confident than I am England, based at the moment, just of the way that they, even though they struggled this morning, I think that psychologically coming up against England, who, like we mentioned before, around they haven't been as brave as they could be. They're not playing to their full potential. I think Germany probably sees this as an opportunity to take advantage of that indecisiveness with the way that they're being managed at the moment. Like, they're not a red hot England that you would have expected, and that the neutral, including myself, was hoping for. Where does that leave us, though? Because I'm pretty unconvinced with the way Germany's been playing as well, but they do look quite promising in attack. So that's one thing that gives me a bit of confidence that they might get the edge. I did pick England to go to the final and to actually beat Germany at the start when we did our preview. But there's something about this England team at the moment that doesn't fill me with much confidence. I can't recall, but will Mount and Chilwell be back in, or
they'll be?
Or is the COVID?
Isolation finishes the day before the game, so that's the
play.
thing. If they're fit or if they've trained or up to scratch with the team, I guess that's a risk. One day out.
Mason Mount plays. Southgate will play Mason Mount. You heard it here first. He will start that game.
But in the end, we've got to pick someone. Someone's got to go through. And despite my preview, I've got a feeling about Germany here. And I reckon that, like Concierge of Crime and Dan said, I think our man boy Kai is going to have a pretty important stake in this one. So they will get over the line here. And I'm going to go for 2-1 to Germany.
Well, yeah, interesting shout. You know what? Before we move on to the next, the one thing that I do think may give Germany an edge, even though I picked England to win it, the one thing that may give them an edge is the fact that Germany have already now had to play France and Portugal, right? So they've played two other big teams that have plenty of firepower. Now, England's group stage was not as challenging as Germany. So I do wonder if Germany will have gained some resolve and some positive momentum and confidence from their games against those two. We'll have to wait and see, though. This one is flip of coin.
And just a point on that as well, that's a good point about the build-up leading into this one, whereas I think England, they haven't had to face a really potent attack that, like, the firepower that Germany have offered. And even though Germany's more leaky at the back and England have been quite resolute, it makes for a pretty interesting tie all round. Hopefully there's not shades of Lampard disallowed goals 3 yards beyond the line.
Just about to say, mate, England, England and Germany have the issue as far back as '96 when Southgate missed a penalty, and then the ghost goal with Lampard. So I'm sure it'll be a big win if they can get this over the line, England.
Yeah, absolutely, huge match.
Boys, the last one we're going to preview is Sweden hosting Ukraine. This, I think, will actually be low-key a pretty entertaining match. Two teams, again, that I think will just be really happy that they're there in the knockouts and have nothing to lose. I've been impressed with Ukraine so far. I think they've really turned up. But Sweden topping the group, I didn't see that coming. I do think Sweden should have enough in the tank to take the Ukraine, but I can actually see this one maybe going to penalties. So I'm going with Sweden on penalties after a 2-2 draw.
All right. Like I said in my preview, boys, I said that Sweden's biggest advantage is not having Ibra because they play more as a team and they don't have a vocal point and everything's got to go through him. Like I said, I picked them to qualify. I think I picked them second to come in, but obviously, like I said, they topped the group. I've got them winning quite comfortably in this one with a 2-0.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. An interesting point. We might have to have a side discussion about the impact of Ibra. But look, I think he's a big game player, and I think they lose that experience from him. But maybe the fact that they're not versing a heavyweight traditionally like Ukraine at the moment maybe helps them in that cause. But I think Ukraine haven't played bad at all, actually. And they were unlucky in their loss the other day to Netherlands there. And
Austria, that was a big upset.
Yeah, correct. Yes. But I think I'm going to go on the Sweden train here, and I think they will get the job done. And I'm going to go with a 3-2. So quite an exciting game, I'm predicting.
Really quickly, boys, we are 50 minutes in. Time flies when you're having fun. Shout out to all the people in the live chat. Please, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment, share. We're trying to build this baby up. Let's really quickly, let's have our discipline, boys. Looking at the path ahead, what do you see or who do you see as a winner? Let's do a really quick shout out for a winner as we look at this. If you want, I'll go first.
All right,
I'll
go quickly.
give you some
No,
thinking.
what for? You don't need to go first. I'm sticking with my original one, Italy all the way, and you can clip that.
I think that France-Italy semi-final is going to be an absolute banger.
I agree.
I think the Germans and the English will be tight, but I do see actually an England-France final now, which I think France will do 3-1. Just to be a little out there.
Yeah, you know what? Look, I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a France-Italy semi-final, and I think England's going to make it all the way to the final. I honestly don't know who would win that semi. It's going to be a cracker. I'm going to go with RJ's predictions as England and Italy final, because that would be a fantasy for me, and obviously I would love to take it out. So, Forza Italia.
Nice. Well, I picked the winner, so who we're going to beat. I did say England, but obviously now I've changed it to I think Germany's going to take it. But here's a surprise one. I'd like to see Italy beat in the Netherlands in the final. Now that would be something. Surprise dark horses. So we'll see.
Yeah, there we go. We had a cracker of a question of the week this week. We had so many responses to it. We can't go through every single comment in depth, but we will have a look at a couple of them and see some comments. There are a few people who wanted to retract their responses after the results this morning, but I just thought it was really great to see so many of our community engaging. So I am going to share my screen for those that are watching. But Robbie, have you got some of the Facebook comments loaded up there?
Yep, I'll quickly go through the Facebook ones. So we've got our prediction from the Premier League, the one that keeps all our tips. Daniel, his surprise was Ukraine and his disappointment was Turkey. Jacko, also a big supporter. His surprise was Italy, disappointment Turkey. We've got a couple funny ones here, boys. Robert Gree, he's just surprised that the group stages are finished and Spurs hasn't still got a manager. Also, Teza from Clock and Talk, he says, I'm just surprised that Southgate's still in the job. And the last one here we've got from Glenn Baxter. He goes, his surprise, or more disappointment again, was a combination of Poland and Lewandowski. He really thought that they might have stepped up and qualified. But as I've said before, in the past tournaments, they've underperformed. So, yeah, that's all through Facebook.
Yeah, and just I probably should have mentioned this before for those that didn't see our question of the week. We pretty much asked what your surprises and disappointments were at this stage of the tournament. We've got some on there. I'll just read through some of them. Dan Hill, who's in the live chat at the moment, he said Italy were a surprise. He didn't anticipate that they'd have so much control or style. Disappointment, England. He acknowledged that even though they've got 7 points from 3 games, they've been boring. Hard to argue with that. He also shouted out that Spain were disappointing, but he did retract that statement. So we'll give him a bit of a break there, poor Dan. That Champions of Europe podcast, for also known as That Chelsea podcast, said that they were surprised by Austria and the Czech Republic. They didn't think they'd qualify, but said they were disappointed by Spain. Seriously, can we kick them out? Which they wanted to do before the third game. And Ukraine. So they thought that they could do better. But it didn't age very well, as they acknowledged. Did you have any on Instagram, RJ, or do you want me to keep trucking away with Twitter?
Yeah, I just got a couple here, and it's quite insightful, so I might pick them out. So one of them was from AJ.VZQZ. Biggest surprise for me, Netherlands. 3 wins, only 2 goals conceded without Van Dijk. So that was a good shout. And they said the biggest disappointment for me has definitely been Spain. Yes, they scored 5 goals against Slovakia in brackets, but with Morata missing his goal and not getting on the score sheet at all, I don't think they're going to get past Croatia. So that's quite interesting. And then Crispy04, England have been disappointing, tactically have made poor decisions, and honestly can't see him being a serious contender. Harry Kane requires service to feed him. Players like Grealish, Sancho are being benched. Sterling hasn't had form, and they just don't have a strong forward plan. Defending is great, attack is weak. So, yeah, some interesting thoughts among the few others we've got.
Interesting. Tom from the United Pubcast said he was going to say it before the game, but wanted to wait to make sure they didn't get knocked out. But he said he thinks Spain have looked good, and that's an interesting take because they have been solid. But as he says, they're obviously missing a true goal scorer. But he fancies them against Croatia and thinks they create plenty of chances, and you can't really argue with that. A good friend of mine, Jonathan Davies, who does some coaching over in the Czech Republic, said that Turkey are the obvious disappointment, but being half Welsh, he's not too bothered. And he said England have been pretty boring, and he expected them to be more vibrant. Can you see Patrick's there, RJ, or do you want me to go?
I can. Oh, no, he's my man. I've got to read his one out. So Patrick Larson at PTP_COIB, the famous voice of "Come on, you Blues." So Patrick said, "I'm most surprised by the Czech Republic. Although they finished third in the group, I think they've done ever so well. I'm most disappointed by Turkey. This should a team have performed better." So, look, yeah, some consistent themes, even some great people like Matt J. Bull, Dietar, great supporter of the channel. Daniel Childs, he's obviously a very big Chelsea account. So we did get a lot of ones. Even Param down the bottom have given up on Italy after 16. So it's nice to see them back where they belong. Good shout out there, Param. So, yeah, thanks for all the engagement. And I think we can all agree between us three hosts that we are continuing to be more and more impressed with just how much interactions we're getting. And this is growing nicely. So I think we're going to continue to keep this up because it gives us something to contemplate on the show as well.
Absolutely. As we get towards the end, and again, this has been the quickest 56 and a half minutes of my life. Really quick shout out to all the people taking part in the Fantasy Premier League comp. Do you have the positions there, Robbie, or do you want me to call them out, my man?
Oh, call it out if you have them, bro.
Well, coming in first place at the moment, we've got Mazakar, so Matthew Ben 23, leading by 3 points. In second place, you've got Celestial City SC, Danny Poku. And in third place, we've got FC Kamabolsis, and that is Cormac Duffy 95. So they're our top three. Robbie representing the boys well in seventh place, equal with someone else. I am sitting somewhere around 28th, the Mbappening, and we are only going to rise. And RJ, I hope he's
first,
up.
I think.
I hope
I'm
not
equal
here because she'll be disappointed in you. But
no,
US,
I'm
go on,
51st, mate. I'm 51st,
No.
But you know what? I'm saving myself. Again, I'm going to use all my special wild cards and things. Who can worry about fantasy football when we're too busy enjoying the real quality football? So good on you, Aaron.
Obviously, the rest of us can. Obviously, the rest of us. But yeah, RJ is sitting actually in 54th at the moment.
Beautiful.
Let's not harp on that, boys. Let's do 3 quick fire questions. We've done all the football talk, couple of randoms, and then we are going to end this thing.
Yeah,
RJ,
so first up. So random player you enjoyed watching growing up. Anyone, any team?
For me, JJ Okocha. Loved his
Wow.
skills, some flair. I didn't want to use one of the big common ones. I really enjoyed watching JJ. He always had some flair.
We haven't got a random player.
It's all right. It can be a big one. Thierry Henry, maybe.
No, I'll just go for mate. I'll just say my 2 idols, all right? Ryan Giggs and Del Piero, mate. They're my 2.
Bang average.
Right.
Okay.
Top shouts. For me, bang average, sure. Now, for me, I love watching the real Ronaldo for Inter Milan. I thought he was a great striker, so just majestic to watch. But yeah, JJ Okocha was a great player, 100%. Bolton champion.
All right, boys. Favorite Ninja Turtle?
I'm gonna go with, was it Leonardo? Was he blue? Did he have the blue?
He's the leader. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Leonardo. He was always pretty clever, well-rounded, smart guy. Liked him.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Leonardo as well.
Well, I'm a big Ninja Turtle man. I'm happy to admit that, and I'm gonna go with the party animal, Michelangelo, because he loves pizza, and who doesn't love pizza, right? So,
yeah, fair shout. Boys, this is probably the hardest hitting of all the questions. And before we end this, if any of you guys in the live chat want to share your answer to this one, I'll give you a head start. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. You can't say none because we know you'd be lying. Robbie, you first, my man.
Backstreet's back. All right.
What a song.
Oh Lord.
So I take that that's your answer. You're a Backstreet Boys all
I was
day.
just trying to channel my inner Nick Carter. So yeah, big Backstreet Boys for me, boys.
You know what? I've got to agree with Rob, but geez, NSYNC were quality back in the day, and Justin Timberlake, he went on leaps and bounds. So yeah, Backstreet Boys edges it for me.
As we hit the hour mark, I think it's only fitting that we say, ba, ba, ba.
Oh no, that's terrible. We're gonna lose
I like
subscribers
that.
after that boogie.
We don't have that many at the moment. We're still building this baby.
Well, I'm happy to announce that was Scott's last ever appearance on It's a Football Thing. Thanks, Scott, for your tenureship. So well done, mate. Well done. And but more seriously, first live episode, we've done, you know, a fairly good job covering the hard-hitting items across match day 3 and looking ahead, more importantly, for the upcoming exciting rounds. The live chat's been buzzing. We weren't expecting it to be as active. Absolutely, Rob. Great shout. And those that are listening afterwards, continue to support us, engage with us on social media, because you help us make this show. We're free friends that love talking football, but we like to think that we've got a wider community now, and the more we continue to pump this out, the more you guys support us, the better this will grow. And hopefully, like Scott will tell you, it's about supporting the channel, liking it, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, or if you're a podcast listener, Apple, Spotify, Google, give us those reviews because I'd really appreciate it. So keep up the great work, channel. And boys, any final comments?
From me, live chat, you have been the real MVP tonight.
I know Scotty was super. We're all pumped. I know Scotty was super pumped for this. And yeah, boys, I've enjoyed it. I thought I was gonna be a bit nervous off the start, but it's just nice, man. All those comments, you know, upping us and giving us a bit of confidence and just supporting us. Cheers to everyone out there. Appreciate it.
Wonderfully said. Wonderfully said. At the end of the day, it's all a bit of fun. And if you can join us for the ride, we'd love to have you. But until next time, over and out, boys.
Ciao ragazzi. Forza Italia.